transferable skills that you need as a project manager. My name is Guilherme and I'm a project management expert. I help professionals and companies to develop their project management skills to, of course, deliver more successful projects, delivering the value that the organization needs. How do I do that in practice? It can be providing training to make sure that organizations have the right knowledge, helping people and organizations to apply the project management knowledge to have results with one-on-one mentoring, for example, helping a project manager to organize their project and moving forward to the next steps to be more successful, providing advice and so on, but also with consulting with companies there to help them to understand how they can improve their procedures to get better results in their projects there. Before I forget, this content here is part of the warm-up of the Project Management Summit. The Project Management Summit is a free event where I'm going to show you how to develop your project management skills. So if you are looking to, if you want to learn project management or if you are looking to your next step into project management, the Project Management Summit is for you. Everything is free. The only thing that you need to do here is click in the link below here and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to like and share this video here because then more people can learn project management, but also you help my channel to grow. And of course, it's kind of, it helps in our relationship here. So the topic I'm going to talk about today is based on one of the most common questions that I get there. And this question is basically, I want to move from A to project management. A can be business, sales, IT, engineering, whatever you're doing there, whatever functional role that you have there, and you want to move to a project manager position. And very often I get the question, do I need to start from scratch? How do I position myself to be a project manager? How do I write my CV there to be a project manager? Do I have relevant experience to be a project manager? And the first thing that I need to tell you, whatever you are working on or whatever you are doing right now, if you are working at this point, you should be developing skills. Of course, there's all types of skills that you can develop, but you should be developing skills. And you should use those skills that you are developing with your work, with your experience, uh, or it can be professional experience, or even sometimes you can be like personal experience. You should use those skills to make a case to show you why you're qualified for a specific position. And those skills that you can develop in basically anywhere, in anything that you do, they are called transferable skills. Why? For example, communication. Communication is a key skill to be successful as a project manager. But communication, you're going to be able to develop your communication with whatever you do. For example, let's assume that you are working in sales, whatever type of sales that you are working on there. You need to start to develop your communication, both to communicate with your customer, to make sure that your message is received there, but also to communicate internally with your company to showcase what you're doing there. So communication, you're going to need to use it. You're going to need to develop those skills. So those are transferable skills here. And I want to showcase all those transferable skills in more detail because a lot of times people say, okay, transferable skills, but they do not understand what are those transferable skills. And of course, then I'm going to start to comment how they are related with project management and why they are important for you. Of course, to start, I'm going to showcase here what are the 10 transferable skills that will help you a lot in your career. This is regardless what you want to do. If you say, I don't want to work with project management, but I want to be a manager, I want to be a director, or I want to be a leader, I want to be an entrepreneur here. Those are skills that are critical for you to be successful there. And of course, project management is in the list. Why? Because if you have been following the warm up for the project management summit, I already explained that projects are basically everywhere in any type of industry. Projects help companies to build new products, new service, to expand capacity production, to expand to new markets, to build new units, new stores, and so on. Or if you want to buy a house or whatever, you're always going to have contact with project management. So in companies always need project management. That's why it's a very important skill to have, regardless of the position that you're going to have. And then, of course, that's why I skill that's in very high in demand there. But there are other skills like adaptability, teamwork, communication, creativity, management, computer skills, leadership, critical thinking, problem solving. So those 10 transferable skills you are going to be basically using everything that you do. Let's just say that okay, you're not working with project management, you are working with many things. For example, problem solving, critical thinking, leadership, computers, all those things here, they're going to be useful. You are a software development. Yes, those are going to be useful also. You are a design engineer, or you are a process engineer, you are someone working with healthcare. Those skills are useful because whatever area that you're going to work there, for example, teamwork, in any company that you are going to work there, you are end up working with people. Even if you say, but I have my own company, it's only me. Yes, but then you're going to work with your customers. Invariably, you're going to get involved with your customers, and you need to understand how to properly cooperate with your customer. So that's it's understanding how you develop the teamwork. So this is quite important there. And so those are transferable skills that you're going to use anywhere. What are other transferable skills that you can think of based on your past experience and that you can portray in your CV there to showcase that you have important skills that are important to develop to work in a project there? For example, and I mentioned, of course, if you are doing work, but depending on your personal experience, also you can also develop those transferable skills, and that can be very useful for you. For example, ways to develop your transferable skills even if you are not working. For example, if you are working as a volunteer, it's not like a paid job, but you are developing your transferable skills. You can work as a volunteer, for example. In the past I've worked as a volunteer at the Project Management Institute. I've worked as a volunteer at the American Red Cross. Of course, those were very different types of things. But for example, I'm going to give you a very general example that I did with American Red Cross because it's completely outside of project management. For example, in the American Red Cross, I worked as a volunteer there. I think I did that for probably 6 or 8 months while I was living in the U.S. There, I've worked in different campaigns with doing different stuff for the American Red Cross there. But something that I've probably the thing that I did the most was participate in their fire alarm campaign there, because a lot of people die in the US, in the USA, in the United States of America, because of fires. They are sleeping, the house catches on fire, and there's a lot of people dying because of that. So one of the targets for the American Red Cross was to put down those numbers close to zero. What's an effective way to reduce the number of deaths because of home fires there, because house fires there? It's simply making sure the houses have working fire alarms, because a lot of times if you are sleeping, the house would start the fire would start in the house, and people would only wake up when the fire is already very strong and maybe it's too late to go away. So anyway, part of this campaign, of course, was making sure that they were bringing awareness about the risks of fire to make sure that you avoid hazards and so on. Things like unattended cooking, all those kind of things that can start a fire. But what I was doing the most was installing them, because then American Red Cross, they were installing fire alarms for free for people. So people would call, hey, I want to install a fire alarm. Then so the American Red Cross would send volunteers. They would start install alarms in their house. That's basically what I did what I did the most in this year. And of course, it was very nice because I think I helped them to achieve in 8 months. We installed easily more than I think more than 1,000 fire alarms, which is quite a lot. If you're thinking average, a house goes, depending on the size of the house, but it goes 2 or 3 very easily. But anyway, this was a volunteer that was working there. What kind of transferable skills I was developing there? Well, first of one was teamwork because every time that we would go to install fire alarm, we would need to go in more than one people for safety reasons. We were not allowed, people were not allowed to go out alone, to enter a house alone because you never know who is in the other side. So for safety reasons, and then we would go at least two people there. So you need to learn how to collaborate. And then of course there was a form that people have to complete to make sure that, of course, we were reinstalling the fall alarms, and there was like the paper procedure that had to be done, and the installation itself. So even working at two people, we had to align. Okay, who is going to install the alarm? Who is going to talk with the people to make sure the paperwork is done? So that's an organization that you need to do there. And then we would talk about, okay, we are going to execute this job. Do we have the right tools? So there was some type of planning that we have to do. Okay, if you one day you need to install in 5 or 10 houses, most of those installations would go around in Portland, Oregon area. Of course, we could go for cities close by, but you need to plan your day to make sure that you don't waste most of your day driving around. So you need to find houses that are close by, so to make sure that you can be more effective and you can make the most of the time that you have there. So we talk about teamwork. We had some planning skills there. Red Cross, they offer different types of training that we could attend for free as a volunteer there. That would improve communication because usually how you handle people there is different. I can tell you that even we were doing a service that's a volunteer that was for free. In some houses, people they would complain about what we were doing, meaning that saying people call to ask for a fire alarm. We went there for free. We installed the alarms for free. They did not have to do anything. And even though like that, some people would complain about that. But how to handle with those complaints? So you need to develop a bit of emotion. You need to develop emotional intelligence because, of course, if someone, I remember that a lady that we went there to install the fire alarm. It was an elderly already. Probably she had more than she is more than six, or she was more than six at the time. When I took off the alarm, she had a hard alarm. What is that? That's connected with cables to make sure that it has energy. And the ones that Red Cross was providing was a battery alarm that the battery should be able to withstand 10 years, but it was a battery alarm. I could not replace what she wants. And then she started to complain that's an absurd because I don't want this type of alarm, blah 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 blah. And then I told her basically say, I'm not allowed to install. I only have this alarm, and I can install for you if you want. I'm not allowed to take anything out here because of the procedures, because of liability. And they are not going to fit perfectly because those are different size, different types of alarm, but I can install for you if you want. And she starts to complain a lot. Then I say, okay, do you want me to do that? Or if you say, I'm not, no, I'm not happy with the service, feel free, you can file a complaint, of course, with American Red Cross. But then if you say you don't want it, I go and do something else. And after complaining for a few more minutes, she said, no, I don't want it, go. And she basically kicked me and the partner that I was working on out of the house. This is just a simple example how you need to learn to develop the kind of skill that I was developing there. Teamwork, communication, adaptability, some type of planning, emotional intelligence. So you don't need necessarily be working to develop your transferable skills. Other type of way that you can develop your transferable skills. I've seen someone, I've even hired this person in the past, that he was working semi-professional for a hockey field, meaning that he would play hockey with a team. He was the team captain there here, and he would do that in a semi-professional level, meaning that that was not professional league, but he would participate in competitions and so on. Of course, he had that in his CV, and of course, he should because that's a transferable skill. Because if you are working a team sport, basically you're developing teamwork, and if you are doing that in a level close to, it does not need to be professional, but if you do that in a kind of competition level, even if it's a non-professional competition, That's something worthwhile that you could mention. And those are transferable skills that you also be developing there, and that could be very useful for you. Other type of transferable skill that you can develop whatever you are doing there. Nowadays, everybody works, or most of people work with computers. So working, and what are computer skills? It can be from the very basic. You know how to handle Microsoft Outlook. If you don't know it, Microsoft Outlook, it's a software that sends emails, that helps you to manage your calendar, where you can book meetings. You might think, okay, this is obvious, but not everybody has experience doing that. And I remember that a few years ago I had an intern, and he was saying, "Oh, can we time say, okay, if we want to talk, let's have a weekly touch point." So because I was kind of coordinating his activities there, let's have a weekly touch point. But I want you to arrange a time slot that fits both of us. And he used to, first time he sent a meeting that it was overlapping with one of my other meetings, and I told him this time I cannot make it. And he was confused, so he was doing some kind of guesswork. And then I come and told him, hey, you know that in the Microsoft Outlook there's an option that you can see the time slots that I'm available. Then you can schedule a meeting when you already know that I'm available. That's much easier than keep guessing. Of course, that only works as long as everybody's working in the same company. But that's a very simple computer skills that can help you into your career. And not everybody will know how to handle. Other transferable skill that you have there, using MS Project. Not using MS Project. That's very focusing already in project management in the end. Using Excel. Excel probably is one of the most widely used softwares that you have there. But I know a lot of people don't know how to do the basics. Like how to do a pivot table there, how to create a graph, how you have a big table there, you need to find an information there. So you have some type of functions that you can use in Excel, like VLOOKUP, sum if, count if. There's all those types of different functions there that can be useful for you depending on what you want to do. And people just don't know how to do that. And I've seen working a lot of places people with really bad Excel skills. Why in Excel skills it's helpful? It helps you to be more efficient. For example, I've seen that happen recently with me, that I got a report from a area of the company, and people say, we had to do a lot of work, manual check for those items to see if they were here. And they were talking about for the entire company, hundreds of items that they need to check in a table, yes or no, manually. And I just replied, you can create, and I just took the Excel file, I just created an automated formula, very simple there, a VLOOKUP with some if conditions there. I say, if you do that with Excel, create a formula, instead of they wasted probably a few days doing the manual check, you could have done that in like a few minutes. That's how impactful can be, why it's important to understand Excel, and that's how it can be very useful for you. Not to say that if you are working a company with project management, the business case is going to be an Excel file. So understanding how an Excel file works, how do you make the connections, how you make graphs, that will also be very handy for you to manage a business case. But here's the important thing. You don't need to be working with project management to work MS Project, to work, Outlook, to learn Excel, to learn Word, or even to learn PowerPoint. But if you tell me, but I'm not working with that and I don't have the software, use Google Sheets. It's almost the same thing. And for people wondering how to learn it, like as part of my development programs there, I have the part that I talk about finance, and I provide a lot of exercise that can be done on Google Sheets. Then you're going to learn basic formulas like how to calculate an NPV, IRR, how to create a business case, but then you can develop this skill. And you don't need to be working with project management to develop the skill, but that can be very useful. Then, of course, if you see a position like that, it's important that you highlight in your CV. What are other transferable skills that can be very useful for you? I've already mentioned few, like communication, critical thinking. Are you solving any type of problem? Like, for example, if you are working with maintenance in an industry, You need to develop, you need to have critical thinking skills, analytical skills there, because that will help you to solve your maintenance issue. You need issues. You need to have make sure that you have time management. You need to make sure that you learn with maintenance there. A lot of times you need to work under pressure there, because if you are managing a production line, you only have a window of time to do this, and then you can apply and use it. And there's a big list of other skills that you can keep developing. One of them, organization. Organization with, and of course, here I'm putting general words to help you to understand. But organization means planning. For example, in the case I mentioned from the fire alarm, what kind of organization and planning that I had to do? Okay, if we are going to drive to a place, do you have all the tools in the car? Do you have enough material, in this case, fire alarms, screws, and so on? Yes. Do we have other stuff that we need to bring with us, like paper forms that we had to complete? The car had gas to go to this place that we want to go. All this basic stuff. But what's that? It's organization. And you would be surprised how you can develop those things and how to put in your CV. But here's a very important thing that you need to do. I see a lot of people trying to write down CVs from they are not working with project management, they want to move there. So what they do, they fill up their CVs with jargon there. And sometimes they also fill up when they prepare for interviews, they just talk on jargons there. In reality, is even I've been working with project management since 2009. Of course, I do use some jargon sometimes, but you're not going to talk about 85% with jargon what you're doing. For example, I'm managing stakeholders, I'm managing risks to make sure I achieve my goals. Talk like people. Why? Because if you are talking in a normal way, and if you write down in a normal way in your CV, you feel more comfort, you feel more confident. You make sure that usually those CVs, the filter for the CV is HR. So if you use a lot of complex jargon from project management, the HR people, a lot of times they are not going to understand it. Also, they are going also to discard your CV because they do not understand it. So it's important that you explain those transferable skills in reality how you apply it. Of course, avoiding to focusing a lot of jargon on project management. Other very important thing is you need to look into the job description there. And if they explain, if they ask, for example, very common that you see there, maybe teamwork or organization or good communication. You put the case in your experience there, how you use that. So you're not going to see, I have communication skills. So you can mention manage communication between the company I'm working on with the customer. I was the responsible to I was the one point of contact. I was managing the face with the customer or however you want to put there. But it's important that you apply that to our reality. You don't need to say I'm managing communication in projects or blah blah blah. No, you are showing up that you have a skill and that you can transfer the skill 100% that you have for your project. And you can do that time management, how you are going to be effective, how you organize yourself, how you are going to be good with your communication. And you can showcase those kinds of things, how you're good with your communication in the way you write down your CV, in the way you are in your interview. For example, if you say I'm very good with communication, one of the things that you can do in an interview is when you say something, you can ask, does it answer to your question? Or is that clear for you? Or do you want me to provide additional information here? This is a very simple question, but it shows what? Communication, you always have a sender and a receiver. And in between, there's always noise. So that's just because someone sent a message does not mean that the message was received as expected there. When you are asking a question, you are trying to confirm this communication. By confirming this communication, what you're doing there is you're showcasing that you have good communication skills. Other types of skills that you're going to develop, if you're in sales, you have negotiation there. Usually, if you're in sales, you're discussing price, you're negotiating with customers. That's a way to do. If you are working as a buyer, you are also negotiating there. You can show like time management. How you show time management? If you're a buyer, you are buying all the no indirect material for a company. You always have priorities. You need to have a calendar. You need to check the stocks. That's how you showcase your organization, your time management, what you are prioritizing, what's more critical. If you're a buyer for a project, if you're a designer, how you're going to showcase your prioritization. For example, in the beginning of my career, I was working in engineering, procurement, and construction projects. I started as a planning and controller, then later on was promoted as a project manager. One of the challenges that we face in this organization was because of the key performance indicator, the way the area manager was handling that. They were measuring the progress of the design by the number of drawings that the design team would issue. So we are talking about an infrastructure project for a substation there where we had a civil design, mechanical design, electrical design with connections, equipment, interfaces, and so on. And what a lot of times the first design they would issue. Oh, they issue the design for the lighting of the area. The lighting of the area, although it's something that needs to be done, was never the critical path of the project. And of course, I do understand that the one that they did it because usually it's the one that has less interface. You only need to have the the floor plan of the area to see where you need to put lights and kind of more or less what you need to do that. The floor plan, the very basic one without the infrastructure connections and so on, they do not change a lot because you're going just to make sure that you have light in the area where you're going to put the lighting spots and so on. But what's the problem in doing that? You're going for the lowest priority what you're doing there as a designer. And they would say, we shoot this number of drawings. Yes, but the project is delayed because for all the important stuff in the critical path, you're not doing, you're working the wrong things there. So that's a way, as even as a designer or a developer, if you're developing software, you can showcase based on what you're doing, how you have time management, how you have prioritization, and how you help the organization to achieve a goal. Those kinds of things are very important. And I could go on talking about adaptability and flexibility, how in a specific situation you learn how to adapt and be flexible. Uh, what's important is you understand the list of those transferable skills and you need to relate those things with your reality to write down as a position. And I mentioned without writing down your CV with too much jargon, but what's important there? If you see, for example, keywords that you have in a job description, let's put someone a very common one, communication. You write down communication and you explain how in your experience you are meeting this communication requirement there. If you talk about leadership, in the case that I mentioned that the guy that was the captain of the team for a hockey field team, well, he's working on his leadership skills as well as communication, as well teamwork. So you might not necessarily you need to write down the transferable skill itself, but if you write down in a manner like because if you also talk, I have transferable skills, blah blah blah, blah, and put a big list. That's not like how people talk, how we communicate in a proper way. You're going to short explain your experience there. If, of course, if there are keywords like communication, leadership, you can put, I led my Hawk field team before to blah, 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 blah. I was responsible to communicate also with other stakeholders to arrange the game, blah, 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 blah. That's, for example, very simple example that you can do here to showcase this in your CV. To make sure that you arrange things that are important for you. So those are transferable skills that you can develop anywhere. But here's also what's very important. If you're already working into a specific industry, you should use also that into your favor into the transfer. For example, if you say, I'm a civil engineer and I work with the design, I work with BIM, for example, you can add those skills if you are looking for a job into construction. For example, I think last week a guy asked me, I'm working as a developer, developing software there, and I want to move for a Scrum Master position. Is that feasible? I said, of course, yes, it's feasible. And you can use all the experience that you have working in a Scrum team, working with software development to have this the technical knowledge there, you can use into your favor. And you can do that in any type of industry. Let's assume that you are an analog designer in the semiconductor industry and you want to move for a project manager position. So you say I've seen projects how are executed, I've seen the different stages that you need to develop a semiconductor product. I have the technical knowledge, the technical overview that could help me to better perform as a project manager, that could enhance my performance as a project manager. And you can do that with anything, with software, with engineering, with healthcare. If you say I've worked with healthcare, so you know all the regulations around it. You know um, you know the regulations around it. You know how the healthcare work depending on the type of project that you are working. You kind of know the companies. You know the culture of this type of industry. You know the challenge that you have. You know the interference that you usually have from the government. All those kinds of things that you know you can use into your favor. So if you already have a technical experience there, build on that when you're selecting the industry. What gets challenging is sometimes I see people, I've worked with construction there, and then I want to go for software development, IT. Is that impossible? No, I've met plenty of people that did this type of transition. But of course, it gets more difficult to say that, okay, I know, so the skill that you are going to do that you might say that I understand technical civil design does not help when you are working with software, or in most of cases does not help. So be aware of those things when you are trying to make those transitions there. So yes, the transferable skills are important, they are relevant, and there are several ways that you can develop that. Uh, I mentioned a lot of different things here to give why I'm telling those stories to make sure that providing examples should facilitate your understanding. And for example, if you want to say, I'm in the US, I want to develop my transferable skills. You can right now, and you can go and apply for the American Red Cross. You can go and work as a volunteer with the Project Management Institute. All those things are not paid, but will help you to develop your transferable skills and will help you to build your CV. And there's, of course, trainings that you can do to develop your transferable skills. For example, I mentioned that if you don't have anything on Excel, even in my programs, my development programs for project management, you are going to be able to learn some Excel if you do the exercise for finance, for example. Uh, but and I mentioned that you should use whatever technical background, whatever background that you have there to build on that. If you say, project manager in healthcare. Oh, if you have a healthcare knowledge in the industry, have healthcare experience, build on that. Software development. Oh, if you're a developer and you are working on the Scrum teams, build on that. Even though you're not Scrum Master yet or you're not a product owner, or build on that. If you're an engineer working on the design, working with BIM, working with the planning, build on that to move. Showcase showcase the knowledge that you already have in the industry. That's going to help you to transition into project management. And all those skills that I showcased to you in the beginning, they are very critical for project management. And they are going to be useful for you with project management, but also with anything else. And also one of the nicest things with project management, because if you are working with project management, you are going to end up being pushed to develop also the other skills. That's also why project management can be a great work to look to yourself to ways to grow into organization there. So our manager position, director position, and so on. If you have questions, you can ask in this video or you can ask in the Q&A box that's open every day in my Instagram here. Very important, don't forget this is the warm-up for the Project Management Summit. The only thing that you need to do there and subscribe. And I'm going to share even this file that I'm showing here. I'm going to share in the you're going to be able to download this in the Project Management Summit, which is basically guidance how to write in CV, talking about transferable skills and key points that you to arrange your CV in a nice way there. So if you're part of the Project Management Summit, you also get this. And also don't forget to follow me for more content. Every week there's more content on my YouTube. Every day there's more content on my Instagram there. And like and share this video because that helps with to straighten our relationship. You are helping me. I'm very going to be very happy with that. But also you are helping more people to learn about project management. Thank you and I see you soon. Bye.